everybody. Welcome back to podcast number 2 of Her Side of the Pitch. Today is a special one. We have a special guest, Kyra Carusa, but also some special news or exciting news. Emily is finally in Sweden with her team. She even got to travel to Norway for a little a little training camp with a friendly. Anything quick to say on that?
No, it's just nice to finally be here. This week will be about getting used to being in PTO, and it was so exciting to be in Norway with the team. It was the perfect way to get to know everybody and finish the weekend off with a nice friendly, and we had another one coming up this Friday. And Nicole has Celtic written all over her schedule recently. They beat Celtic in the Cup 2 weekends ago. Her team, Glasgow City FC, did 3-2, moved on to the quarterfinals. They had an 8-0 league win this past weekend, which Nicole scored a header, which surprised herself a little bit on that one. And they're currently top of the table, tied on points with goal differential in their favor over Celtic. But the two of them meet Friday night, this coming Friday, probably around the time that this podcast will drop. Excited for this one?
Yeah, it's a big one. Honestly, you don't often play the same team twice almost back-to-back against such a quality opposition, but it's kind of what we do this sport for, so I know we're all really excited, and I'm personally really excited for the challenge. It'll be a big one. It'll be a Valentine's night show, so it'll be an exciting game, and obviously this one's for the league, and as you mentioned, it's a very, very close league table. Every game matters, every goal matters, every point matters, so should be a good one, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
How about the header? What was that like?
Yeah, it was. We've had a very big focus on set pieces recently with our team, and it came off a corner. We had a girl on the front post who flicked it on back post, and I found my wings and I flew very high and I got my head on it. Got a little bruised chin from it, but all in all, it was good. I've been scoring a few headers, so we're getting the hang of it a little. Now I just have to grow a few inches, but that one might take a few years.
You got hops though, so that makes up for it. All right, well, we got a quick little Tecker talk for you guys this week. Lots of Man City Arsenal recently on the men's and women's side. On the men's side, 2 weekends ago, since our last podcast hasn't happened in this bit of time, the men lost to Arsenal 5-1, which was kind of a comeback for this Erling Haaland stay humble little banter-ish. After the game in the Emirates, they played Kendrick Lamar's Be Humble song. I'm a City fan, but I thought that was kind of funny. Caroline Nicoli signed for Man City Women, and I played with her in North Carolina, and she's an unbelievable player, world class. I think it'll take a little bit of time, but the world is slowly going to see her talent and her passion and just energy. And yeah, she's Brazilian, so you'll see the flair really quickly, and the world will take notice soon.
Yeah, City women played each other. In the first one, Arsenal won 4-3, which I didn't get a chance to watch because it was during our game, but I heard it was a back-to-back. They score, and it just kind of went all the way up to 4-3, and then City kind of had a little bit of a comeback in the League Cup where they won 2-1. And you're talking about Caroline, that was her first start, and I was able to watch some of that game, and she balled out. So the name's going to be very well known very soon.
Yes, for sure. In other Premier League news, Marcus Rashford, we talked about him in the last episode, his kind of falling out at Manchester United. And on deadline day or around that time, he signed with Aston Villa for a loan for the rest of the season. With John Duran, the striker that was at Aston Villa, moved on to the Saudi League. He went from MLS to Aston Villa to Saudi League for money. I just think I think it's crazy. He's not a very old player, but what do you think? I feel like he's kind of getting rid of his career almost for money.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. I know I have a hard time wrapping my head around the Saudi League personally. Maybe it's just in my head. I know I never want to make a football decision based on money, but again, I'm not being offered the same money that these players are, so it's hard for me to say what they are like in their shoes and how things are. But yeah, from the side, it does seem like it's a money move. But again, I guess you never really truly know unless you're being offered those the millions and millions and millions. But going off of that, this weekend was FA Cup weekend. So You would probably think not as many exciting games, but Liverpool had a big upset. They lost to Plymouth. Hopefully I mentioned
Plymouth, I think.
Plymouth and pronounce that correctly. But yeah, Liverpool lost 1-0, which I love. I do enjoy watching Liverpool play a lot, especially with their new manager. But I love an underdog story, so that was really exciting for them. And they got very lucky to draw City in the next round. But hey, you could do it again. Why not? So it'll be interesting and exciting to see that one.
Yeah, and we got a women's international break coming up next week. Nicole, you are playing Albania,
And Croatia.
yes, and Croatia.
Yep.
That'll be some exciting. Croatia is an exciting opponent. So is Albania. And our guest, Kyra Carusa, is going to be in Ireland. She's on the Irish roster for the upcoming Nations League games. Yeah, some good matchups this window. Denmark and Sweden, two Scandinavian teams going at it. England and Spain as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty exciting in the UEFA part.
Yeah. And then obviously I saw that the US roster was dropped today with several uncapped players being announced and then still missing some key players from Triple Espresso is probably the big one that jumps out to everybody. And then for us, a special one, our teammate from Virginia Tech, Emily, your teammate from Utah, Manny Micklin, a baller goalie, has been consistently being called up recently, which is really exciting. But this seems like it's the first kind of like, not official one, but seems like a first like official tournament in my eyes.
Yeah, She Believes Cup is typically taken pretty seriously by the US, and they play some good opponents. Not sure who they're playing this year, but yeah, I think Mandy fully deserves it. I'm not surprised that she's in this position, and I think she's going to continue to thrive and grow and prove to be, hopefully the number one goalkeeper soon. Um, but yeah, and then Neymar signed with his childhood club, Santos, in Brazil. I just hope we see Neymar, whether he's in the twilight of his career or not, I just hope we see him be who he was, because he's a joy for any football fan to watch. And I hope that this works out and he can shine in Brazil once again.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be fun to see him kind of play for fun, for joy again. Hopefully he comes back. I think his first game he did quite well, is what I heard. So quite exciting to see that. And obviously, at the time of this recording, it is Champions League week, and there's a big one tonight: Man City versus Real Madrid. I guess for fun, we could do a quick score prediction. So you go first, Em.
I'm worried. I'm not going to lie. So this is it's two legs, right? Home and
Yeah,
away.
I believe so. I think we're still in the two-legged part. And City's playing home today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 1-0 City today, but I'm a little bit worried about the return leg or the away leg at the Bernabeu. I'm a little worried about that. But we're just focusing on today. So I think 1-0 City win.
I really don't like Real Madrid, so this is my issue. I will say 2-1 Man City. I think I want some goals. To be honest, I think I'm a little like a side like I wouldn't say I'm a fan of City like you are. So for me, I think I just hope for an exciting game and lots of goals. I wouldn't mind. So hopefully I don't want a stalemate. I think that's my one X for today. We will now welcome our special guest, Kyra Carusa. Kyra is currently a forward for San Diego Wave and an international for the Ireland national team.
Hey! I'm so glad to be on with you guys. This is just us like chatting like normal, but in podcast form now, which is so 2025 of us. But no, I'm excited to chat with you guys and just catch up and share stories.
Yeah. So those who don't know, Kira and I have been teammates when we played together in Denmark. So we had a good couple of years together playing football. But Kira is a very, very successful footballer. We're using football on this podcast, FYI. I'm getting Emily on board still, so
Love
get
it.
used to that word. But yeah, we're just kind of going to go through your career. Obviously, you've been to a lot of places. You've gone through a lot of things, a lot of hardships, but you've also succeeded in many, many ways. So we won't go too young, so we'll start with your college career. You went to Stanford, where you had a great couple of years, even though it may have started a bit rough with a similar injury to mine freshman year, ACL. And then obviously you transferred to Georgetown, and in both places you kind of killed it. So would you obviously it started a bit rough. What would you say, coming into as a freshman, tearing your ACL, what was that experience like?
Yeah, traumatic. I'm sure like all of us who've experienced ACLs and the recovery, it's I think the hardest thing was I had picked up a few injuries in my time, like playing as a kid, but never to that extent of being out that long. And also in what feels like probably the most like pivotal time of everything. And like, I mean, in the moment you're 18 years of age and you're thinking, um, and there's someone's,
Oh, the
love that.
police.
I love that. Yeah, go fight those fires, please. Thank you. Okay. Okay, well, I'll go back. So, yeah, so tearing my ACL coming in as a freshman. I mean, I tore it a month before reporting for preseason, so legitimately did not step on the field for an entire year of my freshman year at Stanford, which was pretty wild to think about. I think in the moment it's the most you're in the most like pivotal point of your life, and and also what you think at the time is the most important point of your life, and to have something that takes all of that away from you or takes your ability to play away from you just is traumatizing. And it's yeah, and it's hard to think that there's an end or there's another side to all of it, because again, like college soccer, we what we do and what we did growing up was to play, like to be able to go to college and play college soccer. So yeah, whereas now I look back and I'm so appreciative of the perspective it gave me, and I'm also I don't think my college career looks the same at all if I didn't have to sit out that entire year, because we all know like when you go from club to college, it's a completely different experience. It's a completely different level. You're playing with women who are 4 to 5 years older than you, and you're expected to perform at that level and be at that standard. And it was really eye-opening to be able to just sit on the sideline and actually get to see it all in front of me before having to actually just be like thrown into it, which is again like it's just the way it is, and people, you know, sink or swim. But I am very appreciative of being able to see how, you know, just how everything functioned, from everything from my head coach and the way he liked to train and what he liked to do, to the standard amongst the team, to getting to know the players, to getting to know our system of play, like everything top bottom. I didn't really realize I was like taking in at the time. And then when I started my sophomore year, my redshirt freshman year, I could just jump right in as if I had already been there, like I had been playing all the season prior. And I think that also that like really drove me when I was like training in my off season to come back to be ready, because I was like, if I'm going to control anything at this point, if I'm going to come back from this ACL injury and all my patella tendonitis and all those days of rehab and all those bike workouts, like, and those yeah, those long days, like I'm going to control everything I can control, and I'm going to be back and I'm going to be ready to play. So I think that ultimately it was, I look at it and I think, wow, like I don't have the same collegiate career if it doesn't happen. Now, yeah, so overall, tough start, but it really built a lot of character.
Yeah, unfortunately, but also fortunately, I had a very similar story, tearing it 3 weeks before coming to college and moving on campus July 1st and getting ACL surgery July 3rd. So, yeah, definitely, we probably had very similar experiences, and I think at the time it felt like the end of the world, and it was the end of the world. But yeah, looking back at it, I think there's a lot of positives you can take from such a situation. And yeah.
100%. I remember when we spoke about our injuries and how I just thought it was like so simulation that you were explaining your injury, and I just was looking at you blinking, and I was like, I verbatim had the same thing happen to me. Like, this is insane. And yeah, like there's something very specific about when you come into a new program and a new team where you're meant to like be an addition to it and like add to it and like perform for it, and literally that ability is being stripped away from you completely. It changes you like as a person, and it really challenges you to have to find a way to function in this program, in this team, in such a different way than you're used to. And we were like so young to do it. Like, God bless us.
I think the word that you used that was like, yeah, I love the word perspective that you used to describe that experience, because I think Yeah, I remember Nicole going through it. We were roommates. And actually, another mutual friend that we all have, Kelsey Irwin, also went through it going into her freshman year as well. She, for those that don't know, she played at Virginia Tech, was a redshirt junior when Nicole and I were freshmen. I think, like, yeah, just seeing Nicole go through it and like thinking about the perspective she had to come back even helped me like the next year with coming back from my sophomore year. But there's not ever a good time to get injured, not ever a good time to tear your ACL. But I think like the worst time can be your freshman year or your first year somewhere, because you're going through all this change, and both of you, I know for a fact, like use that perspective and to fuel everything moving forward. And I think that the reason you guys have been so successful, up until now and for the future is because of that. So perspective is everything when it comes to recovering from those injuries.
Totally agree.
Yeah, so then, more on a positive note, after you came back from your injury, you had some 3 great years at Stanford, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you decided to transfer to Georgetown. What was kind of your decision to try something new? Because obviously you never know what is going to happen somewhere else.
Yeah, no, it was also a really pivotal, difficult decision in my life. Yeah, it was, I mean, staying at Stanford was always like at the forefront of my mind, and it was honestly a priority for me. And I had applied and gotten to a grad school program at Stanford, and I was really preparing myself for like to do that. I think that in terms of circumstances of like, of just everything from, I think myself and Stanford, like we kind of met, we met the point of which it was like, okay, like could be a point in which we part. And again, like that was so difficult for me to have to actually do that and actually have to say, okay, what would it look like if I wasn't here next year? Just because again, like it was everything I knew. We just won a national championship. I came off such a successful season. Your friends are there. Like a lot of my class was coming back, and you're just thinking that that's all you know. You're just like, of course I'm going to be back. But looking back on it now, again, I'm so appreciative of what led me to have like to leave, because in the moment it felt like it was the hardest challenge, or like the big, like it felt like completely out of my control. But I also look at it now and I think like, wow, what an opportunity, and like what an opportunity it actually turned out to be. Because yeah, I remember suddenly I was like a freshman, or I was like a recruit all over again. And all these schools were, in contact with me being like, hey, like we want you to come here. We want you to do this. We want you to do this. And when I was younger, I always remember thinking I would never go to the East Coast because I went for like one tournament one time, and it like took years off my life. And I just said, this California girl, she is staying here. I was like, no, 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 you could not pay me to do that. And then I went on some official visits. I chatted pretty heavily with Michigan, Duke, and Georgetown were my three top prospects at the time. And I visited Duke and Georgetown, and in this really kind of funny way, when I was first looking to go to college, I looked at a few schools. Like I looked at like UCLA and USC and Stanford. And I remember going to all these campuses, but when I walked onto Stanford's campus, I didn't know what it was. I just said, this is where I'm going to be. Like, I just know this is it. Like nothing has hit the same. And then in the same way, 4 years later, or how many so years later, when I was visiting different campuses for my fifth year, when I visited Georgetown, I said it was the exact same feeling in this just like eerie way. And I knew right away. I mean, I was like, it was like a non-negotiable. And now I also did have the privilege of having one of my really good friends from club soccer. She was the goalkeeper at Georgetown at the time as well. So she was coming back to play her fifth year as well. So kind of like you guys, I was like, okay, well, like I have my friend. So that, which was huge and like massive, and like made it that much better. But I knew as soon as I stepped onto Georgetown's campus, as soon as I was with the head coach, Dave, I knew. I was like, it's going to be Georgetown. And even in that too, I remember so many people had so many opinions about, oh, but what programs have a better, resume, and like what coaches do this and they have more things here and all that stuff. And I say this a lot about just soccer or football in general and just teams I've been a part of, there's nothing beats a culture and like a feeling. And I knew it was always Georgetown. I was like, it did, regardless of everything else around it. If I believe in that, I know this team will be successful. And it's also a testament to the players that were there, and the senior class we had at Georgetown was just phenomenal. Phenomenal people, phenomenal players. And it's just truly amazing how much better people can play when they have that feeling is felt amongst them. And it felt that way at Stanford, it felt that way at Georgetown, it felt that way in Crew when we were playing in Denmark, and literally all the odds were stacked against us. But I always believed that we would be successful and we would win. And and then almost went back to back national championships at two different schools. Yeah, made it all the way to the semifinals and double overtime with the Final Four with Georgetown. And our undefeated season, it was the best season in program history. We played North Carolina. It was it was a really, really crazy way to like finish out. But it was good. It was good.
I remember watching that game actually. It was down in Cary, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't there in person, but I remember watching it on TV and thinking, yeah, so I'm from the East Coast, I'm from New Jersey. And so
Nice.
Georgetown isn't too far. It's like 2.5 hours, maybe less from my house. And so watching a Big East team go to the Final Four and potentially win a national championship was like, whoa, that was like so cool to me. I remember watching and just being like super inspired by you guys. I might have already been in college, but still, it was super inspiring, and I can relate to that feeling that you talk about, like when you visited Stanford and Georgetown. Like I had that same feeling when I went to Virginia Tech, and like everything. Yeah, there's a when you get off the highway at Virginia Tech and you're like kind of going around a roundabout and going towards the football stadium, like every time I go back, like I still get that same feeling. It's a feeling that I like hope that many other people have, but I think it's a testament to what you're saying, like having that feeling and knowing that this is going to be, where I'm going to make my mark and with these girls and be part of this culture. Like it's so important. Yeah. So yeah, Nicole, if you want to keep going along.
Yeah, I was gonna bounce off of that. Like, it was the same with me with tech. I remember I came in February, and it was snow, the ugliest months you could be. Like, and I showed up to this campus, and I was there for a 2-day ID showcase. And I just turned to my dad and I go, "Well, this is gonna be it." And I have no idea why, but like in that moment, it just felt right. And I think that's something for like the three of us, like that we both, all three of us, really believe in what we're doing. It might not work out, but I think all three of us kind of, it's our greatest strength, maybe sometimes our weakness, but I think we all fully go into it, whatever we're gonna do, and just believe that it's gonna work out, hopefully. Or if it doesn't work out, we get something out of it.
Yeah.
So after Georgetown, obviously a hugely successful college career between the two schools. Tell us a little bit about what happens next.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So you think like college soccer is it's pinnacle, like you've peaked, you're just thinking like, okay, like that what else can you accomplish? And I sit here now years later being like, wow, like I've lived many other lives since then. But so I entered the draft and I was drafted in the 2019 draft. I was drafted to Sky Blue, now Gotham. And I was in a very I was in this like weird boat of like I was finishing out grad school at Georgetown. I didn't know if I wanted to go into the NWSL yet. I was in the midst of trying to get my Irish passport as well. I'm Irish American. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm getting my, like, maybe playing abroad is another option that I could really consider. And again, it was kind of not something that a lot of people knew a lot about. Like, I say that when there were plenty of people and plenty of women who went to play abroad before me. Me going abroad, I stand on the shoulders of the many who came before who literally knew nothing going into it. But it's still a really daunting process. You're literally going off of word of mouth. Like you're talking to people, you're chatting to other Americans, you're chatting to internationals, you're trying to get connected with people who like maybe know someone on the team and the biggest thing is that you have to be very flexible and be very prepared for anything, which is terrifying. But Yeah, so I was drafted Sky Blue. I decided to go abroad. I wanted to finish out my schooling with Georgetown, and I just decided, like I want to go. I want to go see how this like European thing goes, and then we'll go from there. I ended up going to Le Havre. They are a team in France, and they're kind of on the like west north side of France. And I went with one of my Stanford teammates, Jay Bossier. Shout out. So we went to this team in France, and it was not what we had expected. I'd say that it, again, is something that taught me a lot and really changed me and my, like, how I thought about me as a player, my professional career, what I want to get out of it, my contributions to a team. Like, it really like challenged my worth as a player, what I brought to the table. I think the hardest thing was, again, the culture shock of it all, which as Americans, I think I always say that every American should go abroad and play. The person you become after that it changes you completely, and also for the good. Like, it gives you so much more understanding of the game, perspective on culture, interacting with in a team, learning a different language. It challenges you in a way that in this uncomfortable way that you've never been challenged before. Yeah, but at the time, did I think that? No. At the time, I said, "Who let me go here?" So, yeah, which was pretty wild. So, I spent about 4 months there in France. And then I was supposed to be there for 2 years. I got out of my contract. It was just not suiting us or the club. And I came home, and I was home for Christmas, having ended my contract in France. And I literally said I wasn't going to play. I was like, I don't think I want to play anymore. And it was it was an unspoken thing. I just think that when people go, "Oh, what do you want to do?" I was like, "Well, I'm not going back abroad. I'm not getting on another plane. Like, you can't tell me, like, I've moved all my stuff out there. I moved it all the way back 4 months later. I'm not doing it." And it was really, really difficult for me to even consider what football looked like for me moving forward. And I have to, well, I also, in that time, I got my Irish passport, which was huge. So I was invited to come into camp for the first time, which is, gosh, that was 5 years ago now, which is like so weird. It was so weird to think that. But yeah, but also, I have to give it to, I had a coach of mine here in San Diego, someone who is very, very close to me, and always looked out for me. Always, is a very good friend to me now still. And he told me about this team in Denmark. He's like, "You got to go chat to this. You got to go chat to this team. Like, you got to go hear them out. Just consider going to Denmark and playing." And and I really have to say the only reason I said yes was because him and another coach that I played against quite a bit here in San Diego, just two very good people who knew me and always looked out for me, which I think we all know that, like, in the soccer world, in the professional soccer world, you need someone like that. You need people like that who can vouch for you in like rooms, and also can like say, "Hey, this will be good for you." And they were like, "You got, like, come to Denmark." And I remember they just pitched it to me like, this team wants to promote to the next. They weren't even the first division. They're in the second division. They wanted to promote to the first. They just said, "Kick the ball in the back of the net as many times as you want. You just do you, girl. And then go home." They're like, "Do it for 6 months, go home." They're like, "Be done. Just kick the ball in the back of the net and then be done." And I was like, only for them, only because it was them, I said yes. I said, "Okay, fine. I will do this thing. I will try again. I will do this for 6 months and I'll be done." And then look at us now. So yeah, but yeah, so I essentially I went to Denmark to play, and we promoted into the next division, into the first division, and they asked me to sign one more contract back for a year. And I thought to myself, well, like, we already made it to the first division, might as well just, I don't know, figure it out a little bit more. And then I ended up being there for almost 4 years.
Would you say that confiding in those two coaches from back home kind of built back that trust to take a leap of faith and try it out again?
100%. I would never have done it. I would never, if anyone else came to me, if another agent came to me, if another coach came, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. And again, it was like those, I love those coaches so dearly. They are still people who are very influential in my life now. If I make massive life decisions, I'm still very connected to them. I would call them and be like, okay, what should I be doing? Like, what are your thoughts? They were just always so honest with me, but they also, and like Nicole, we've had many talks about this specifically. They knew me as a person so well. And I think that's so crucial, especially for like a player like myself or like you, Nicole, because your attributes like go beyond what you show on the field. It's these attributes as like a leader, as a person, as someone who starts a culture, as someone who influences people around them. They knew me on that level, not like really microscopic level. Like when they said that this project would, like, me and this project like needed each other almost. And I said this about Crew when I was leaving, when I made the decision to leave and like move on past Denmark later on, is that it felt like we were parting like as like these two friends, these two people, these two entities that met each other when we needed each other the most. And we didn't know it at the time, but like we both needed each other. And then now we can like part ways knowing that like we'll forever be like friends, and there's only good between us, and we've only did good for each other. But again, like we can appreciate that we found one another when we needed each other most. And I will always be thankful to those coaches and thankful to Denmark for that. Denmark will always have a place in my heart because of that.
Yeah, and honestly, so I joined Hobie Kerr after a few years of you already being there and you guys already being the best. But I think from my side of you, like coming into that team, it was clear that how big of a role you kind of had in that and your leadership role. And like you're saying, they allowed you to have that leadership role. Like, to be honest, to this day, I've never met a leader like you on the pitch and off the pitch, but specifically in the football world, like genuinely, I haven't met someone like you. But like you said, that wouldn't have come out, or you wouldn't have been able to use that skills if it wasn't for this project where you kind of did start from zero and you guys built it up to what we won 3 years in a row, which
Yeah.
is crazy to hear in Denmark from a team that was kind of not known of at all.
Yeah.
So it was quite magical what we built. I think you guys specifically, the ones who were there from the beginning in Denmark, and obviously
Yeah, and just to add on to that, like I've heard so much about you, Kyra, from Nicole, from Kelsey, from other people just around the NWSL. And you kind of mentioned like the people that paved the way before you to go to Europe. And I think even Nicole and I were talking yesterday kind of about your journey. And I I will say I feel like around the time that you were going out, like there probably weren't that many people before you that really took the risk or leap of faith that you took. It's becoming way more common now. Just 6 months ago, I was kind of in a crisis myself. I hadn't played really any meaningful minutes of football in like 2 years from an injury, and then also just not playing, not getting playing time. And yeah, I always wanted to play in Europe, and Denmark was somewhere that I felt like I could take that leap of faith to because the two of you did it. The team that I was joining was OB, and they were trying to do the same thing that Kerr did a few years back. It might take a little bit longer than just the 6 months on loan that I was at this fall. But my point is just like taking that experience changed my life. It changed my football career, and now I'm playing in Sweden. And yeah, it's crazy how those things happen, but I don't think I would have felt as confident in doing it if, yeah, knowing that you did it like all those years ago and Nicole did it and some other people I know have done it since. Denmark's a fantastic, like, I love that country. I think it's so nice. But yeah, I think a lot of people in the future will continue to do that because you guys did it. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, both of you, thank you so much. Like that was so good. Such kind words.
the
But
hype
you're
club.
like, I know. I'm like, stop. But I think you guys say it so well. Like, I mean, first of all, Emily, like that's all I would want. I would want people to be like, oh, like Kyra did this, or like I seen someone do this, someone in like walk this path, do this. I can do this, because I think there's still such like a stigma, especially in America, of like going to play abroad and like are being like, oh, you're just not, it's not the first choice. Where I'm just like, I want to grab these girls by the shoulders and be like, go, first choice, like do it now while you're young. I was like playing Champions League. It just, Nicole, we've talked about this so much. I'm just like, people don't even understand like the craziness and the level and the inspiration and the like just being a part of a Champions League is and like that is a whole experience in itself. And not only that, but just I mean, I followed international football. I followed like I liked watching, I'd watch a game or two, but when we were abroad, changed me. Changed me as a human. The amount of football, we would literally have family dinners centered around massive games. Like I remember sitting on the couch with Nicole and my heart hurting when Real Madrid beat City.
That better not happen tonight.
Which is so funny. Wow, simulation. It's happening tonight. That game's on tonight. But literally, my heart hurting. And I'm on the couch. And I'm like, when did football suddenly hit me like this? But again, you just grow and it gives you so much more. You live through so much more. And I think, again, when I talk about Denmark, we found each other when we needed each other the most. Nicole, you were saying how they let me be me. I was not, I mean, I was a very, I've always been the player that I am. And I think like, but before Denmark, I don't know, like I never found my footing in the professional world to kind of like be so confident and be so sure in myself and what I brought to the table and being that leader. And Denmark let me do that. And they gave me the platform and they gave me the respect and the responsibility to do that. And I'm just so incredibly grateful because I know my worth and I know I'm so like grounded in that now. And that I'm like, and every program I've walked into after that, like it doesn't matter to me being a captain or like if you're new to the team or if I'm from San Diego, if I'm not from San Diego, I will always, always, always show up as the person I am because I just know that why would I play if I didn't? Like what would be the point? So yeah, but I wanted to say thank you for all those lovely, lovely compliments. And I'm so happy that you guys look at that as like as I don't know, like you look at that and say like, okay, yeah, like I should be, or I could go play abroad and I can enjoy this because that just makes me so happy to hear.
Yeah. I think sometimes even like I'm proud to have played in the NWSL and I'm sure you're very proud now, but I think like sometimes we as Americans are stuck in that bubble and I think it's like awesome playing abroad and like you said, just being like immersed in the football culture. There's nothing like it. But yeah, tell us more about Champions League. I want to hear more about that because I'm a little bit envious of the two of you playing in Champions League and getting some of those experiences. So share a little bit about that. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. No, Champions League is gosh, it's such a whirlwind. Again, like talk about chapters of life. Like it's such a pivotal, sick chapter of life. I mean, so just like to give a little perspective. So we win the league in Denmark. So we come in as like the team that promotes. And I remember that you could like put sports bets and all that, blah, blah, blah. And when we promoted into the league in Denmark, our like someone who bet on us before the beginning of season to win the league, like the odds were just like astronomical because they were just like literally in Danish history, this has never happened that a team has entered the league as like in that and won it in that first season, let alone there were only two teams, Brøndby and Fortuna, who have gone back and forth winning the league. No one's ever done it. So if you put like a Danish kroner on us to do it, you would have quite the return at the end of the season. So we end up winning the league, wild. And then by doing that, you qualify for a spot for Champions League. And now we qualified, we basically had to play one playoff game to then make a group stage. But again, you're playing this qualification game or this playoff game against programs who have go and play these playoff games and play in Champions League every year. So very, very veteran, very well known, like they know what they're doing sort of thing. And we got Sparta Prague. Yeah, we drew Sparta Prague and we play a home and away match and we beat them in both legs of the home and away match, which was just, again, craziness. Like it was just wild. And then again, like when we hosted them at home for our home game, we maybe had 500 people at the game. Maybe. I think that was generous. And it was just because it was like, oh my gosh, this little Danish team is brought Sparta Prague to, and then after that, we drew a group of Hoffenheim, Arsenal, and Barcelona. And it was the group of death. But also, we looked at it like, oh my gosh, what a privilege. Barcelona, Arsenal, and Hoffenheim are coming to Kur, like to our tiny town in Denmark. And it just was amazing to me to see over the course of each of those home games how our little stadium suddenly felt like a football stadium. It felt like people showed up, and even people who supported the other teams. I kind of remember when we played Arsenal, we probably had more Arsenal fans there than we even had like Danish football fans, like, or just like people from Copenhagen came down to see, like, support Arsenal. But it didn't even matter because it was just more of the fact that, like, the platform that the women's game and that, like, Denmark got to be on because of us was the coolest thing. Like, I will never ever forget that. And to have the likes of that talent to come and play against us in our town was just, again, it started from literally, like, so that was really, really cool. And to see us as a team grow. I remember our first game we played away against Hoffenheim, and we were all like, we're gonna be so good. And we also remember thinking, okay, hey, if we're gonna win a game, we're gonna get points in this group. Hoffenheim and us are gonna be the like, we're gonna be the competition to win like points off each other. And then we lost 5-0 away. And it was like painful. It was a painful 5-0. Also, Hoffenheim they were class. Like, they played the best football I'd ever. We watched a lot of film on them, and I was like, I'd never seen this team play so well. They were phenomenal. But so you're thinking, okay, wow, like, this is really hard. But it really, I think it was a point in my career, which is kind of a mantra of mine right now, or in general, that really, like, hammered home to me the fact that you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and in anything, but especially in times of change, in times of growth, in times of challenge. Those who are successful are those who thrive with being uncomfortable. It's inevitable. You're going to have to run. These teams are better than you. These players will make you feel, they will get past you in moments in this game. Like, you just have to accept that you will be deeply, deeply uncomfortable, but understand that you will survive and that you will become better out of it. So our next game, the very next game, we had to play Barcelona at home after losing 5-0 to Hoffenheim in the first match. And you're just thinking, okay, well, now we're playing the best team in the world at home, so that's just great. But when we were preparing to play them, we would play, our starting 11 would play against 12. We would play against a team of 12, and one of our assistant coaches who played in Champions League, and Kim Dalgo, just great player, great Danish man. He would play as the 12th man for the Barcelona team, because he would say, this is what it's going to feel like. You're going to feel like you're a man down. You're going to feel like there's someone in the midfield. You're always going to be a man down on the field. There are always going to be players around you, yada, yada, yada. Like, you have to be prepared for this. And then, and then we played probably one of our best games I've ever seen a Hobie Crew play ever, against the best in the world. And we unfortunately lost the game. But the fact that we played Barcelona toe to toe for 79 minutes, like, it was insane. Like, it was a really, really good game for us. But just, like, in the grand scheme of things, we grew so much as a program and as a team. And then the following year, when Nick was with us, we obviously go to play in the playoff game again. And we weren't as lucky for our playoff draw, because we got probably the team that you wouldn't want to get. The one team we were like, let's just not get Juventus. And then we got Juventus. But even then, and I know, like, Nick, you're laughing, but, like, even then, we had them home in that first game. And I just thought to myself, I said, okay, like, we got Juventus, so we're going to beat Juventus. Like, it is, why am I surprised? Like, why is anyone surprised? Guys, we were playing Barcelona and Arsenal, like, 2 months ago. Of course we're going to have to play. Like, you have to play these teams. And again, we showed up as such a impressive, really, really strong version of ourselves. And you know what? Like, I look back and I think, like, on a different day, if we won that home game first, and then the next game would have been different, and yada, yada, yada. But but again, when I talk about these things, it's what I try to like explain to people is that, like, Nick, we had like Cena, and one of these players was this really young player, Cena, and she was maybe 18 years old and had never even, like, she went to college to play in college soccer after we played, like, that, after playing with us. And you had the likes of these like really young Danish talents who, if they were in America, like, I don't know if they would all go and play college soccer. Like, they might not even like think that they were like have been good enough to go do that. And then you brought this team together that played at this level and played against this great like European talent. And they were phenomenal. They just showed up as like the most impressive versions of themselves. But it's because you gave them the confidence and the platform to do that and the belief to do that. And I just, yeah, like, I think about that time with Champions League and how impressed and how honored I was to be playing with those players, and like just people who believed in it just as much as like myself or Nick did. And yeah, I talk about it now, even in playing in the NWSL. Like, you have like the Challenge Cup and you have the playoffs and winning the field. And I'm like, this is cool. Like, this is crazy. Like, it's impressive. Like, this league is not for the faint of heart. But I also look around and I just go, oh my gosh, like, I wish you all could go and play Champions League. Like, just for a little bit. It changes you.
Well, speaking of San
Yeah.
Diego, first of all, the Champions League thing, I really hope that I can experience that sometime soon. But yeah, speaking of San Diego, that's where you are now. How has it been playing back at home? And yeah, you mentioned playing with some 18-year-old players in Denmark. But now you're playing with you were playing with the likes of Alex Morgan, Naomi Girma, international level, even you play with some stars as well. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So coming back from Europe to San Diego. So I came back after the World Cup when I was playing with Ireland. We were I was in England at the time, went to the World Cup. And I didn't really know where I was going to be. I didn't think I was going to come back to England, but I did want to come back to San Diego. And it was kind of just like, oh, do we get a contract done? Do we make this happen? Yada, yada, yada. And so we got a contract and got to come back to San Diego. And actually it was literally just a 3-month contract. It was like to finish out the end of the season, 3 or 4 months. And then kind of go from there, like see if they liked me, if I liked them, which is like so funny because, again, I'm so familiar with this position. They're like, oh, like, let's just see like how you fit with us. And I just always am like, okay, I'm always gonna bet on myself. So and sure enough, came back to San Diego, walked into a team with incredible players. I mean, Abby Dahlkemper, Emily Van Egmond, veterans in the league, from anywhere, like Danny Calaprico. I mean, just phenomenal players. Caitlin Sheridan in goal. And I was welcomed so quickly amongst the team and the program, which I cannot thank them enough for. I mean, these women, like, I've been there the whole time. I feel like I've played in the league for so long, and it's a testament to the staff and the program and the players that I was welcomed in by. And I think that, again, timing is everything. And when I came in, I think the program, we were really in a competitive, we were still in a very competitive spot. I feel like NWSL, you're always competitive no matter where you are in the league and what time you are in the league, just because it's so good. But we were kind of coming off a summer lull and really needing a lot. The team kind of needed that, like, someone to come back in and just be like, hey, like, give us purpose and like remind us like we're still competing for something big. And I definitely think I was able to bring that into our team, and being able to play in front of my friends and family and being home for the first time in my professional career was also a huge motivation for me, because I had left for college when I was 18 and basically haven't been able to play in front of my family since, or in front of my hometown. So that was huge for me as well. And yeah, once I came back in, we just picked up some really, really important wins. I think about probably the most pivotal goal I've scored for San Diego was my first goal. And we were away against Orlando. and I got subbed in, and we were tied 1-1, and it's difficult to play Orlando away. We're in a point of the season where we really need to win, and like we need a win on the road. And I Mackenzie Doniak, who funny enough I played with in Denmark, she and I played in crew together. She took a corner kind of late in the game and smacked it right on top of my head and went in the back of the net, and we ended up winning the game. And I look at that as like it was my second game ever playing with San Diego. So it really like kind of gave me a lot of confidence and a lot of like belief from our staff and our team and the players around me. But also I think for us as a program, it was like this contagious kind of like moment of, oh my gosh, like we're still in this, like we have a shield to win, we have a playoff to play for, we have so much to play for. It's been a long season, but we love this. Like these are the moments we play for. It was like one of those kind of like really special moments, which was great. So I was just so happy that like I was someone that could provide that for such a impressive program that with incredible players. And then I think about like at that point in my career, I've like, oh, like I've been abroad. I've played with Ireland. I've played internationally. I've played Champions League. I've played in a World Cup. But then you're playing next to an Alex Morgan, and you're thinking the whole time you're just thinking, what she does, I need to start doing. The way she plays, the way she thinks about the game, how smart she is on the field. Like you're just suddenly like you're just like again, like I feel like I'm learning all over again. I'm 18-year-old Kyra, recovering from an ACL on the sideline at a Stanford practice, and you're just sitting there going like, I'm taking in as much as possible because I feel like this is changing me as a player. So, yeah, such a privilege to be able to play with the likes of the talents that we had at the time, and to be playing against the best of the best. I always said this about when I was training against Naomi. I always thought to myself, if I'm training against Naomi day in day out, and I can do things with Naomi and like learn to like how to like play against a center back like that, I can do this against anyone in the world. I was like, you're literally you're being prepared against the best in the world. And you're just thinking, okay, like if that doesn't give you confidence, I don't know if it can. So, yeah. And so then got to sign back, of course, and got to play last season. Unfortunately, picked up a injury halfway through the season. I tore my hamstring in a wild and unfortunate way. But again, I feel like every injury I have seems to be wild and unfortunate. And again, it was just another challenge for me as a person and as a player to figure out how I fit into a program and fit into a team while also trying to prioritize myself and like coming back to the best of my abilities and all that stuff. And it's a testament again to the people that were around me and the people that helped me get back. I can't thank them enough for taking my recovery so seriously, for the research that they did, the doctors they vetted, the physical therapy that they had me in. Yeah, I will always be thankful to those that like really, really made sure and believed in my recovery coming back. And I'll never forget when I was my first game back was actually internationally, or my first international game back was I was called in for camp, and I'd only been back for maybe a week, like playing games, and we were playing for important like playoff games, and I scored in my first game back, and my phone. Many people messaged me. Nick, you were one of the first people to message me, of course. But the people that messaged me was like my entire staff individually, from my strength and conditioning coach to my return to play coach to my physical therapist to my head coach. Like just people, everyone was like holy, like my teammates. It just made me so proud that I had so many people in my corner. And yeah, it just reminded me that like it these things are a part of the game, and it's hard, and you'll meet new challenges, but it's those who are comfortable with being uncomfortable that come out the other end of it. And yeah, so luckily I'm sitting here now very healthy and well, and just starting my second full season with the Wave, we're in preseason now. We're playing some games and stuff, and then heading to Ireland here soon at the end of the week to, start some international matches as well. But yeah, so I don't even remember what the question was.
No, you took it away. I think we need to obviously talk about Ireland because we've been throwing that around. But before we do, I think what just stuck out to me with everything, all that you just talked about was like obviously playing with the best. Like that's what we strive to do. Like I think the three of us can talk about that a lot. Like we're always pushing ourselves to our limit and wanting to compete with the best. That's what Champions League allowed you to do. That's what being with San Diego is allowing you to do. But I think the biggest thing for me is like you have this confidence in yourself, but then you're so open to learn. The two and two sometimes can't go, like sometimes the people who are constantly learning are maybe aren't confident in what they know now, but you have this balance of like you know your stuff, but there's always that room to learn even more, but doesn't take away from who you are currently. And I think that really stuck out to me and everything you just talked about in the really.
No, that's perfect, Nick. Exactly. I think that you need to have a humbleness. Like I'm like say this all the time. You need to be a fierce competitor. Like I don't go out and we don't do what we do every day just to like kick the ball around and be in the sun. Like no, because some of us aren't even in the sun. So I'm lucky enough to have the sunshine here. But no, like I say it all the time. I'm like I want to win, and I also am very demanding. Like I will demand that we win, and I will demand that we're out there for a purpose. And if we're not out there for a purpose, then what are we doing? And I'll say that. I'm very blunt about that. But you do have to have like a humbleness of being able to always learn from those around you, understand what you bring to the table, but also understand how to leverage what other people bring to the table to become better. And I've had my club coach, who was one of the coaches that had me come to Denmark, a very cherished, very dear person to me, Ada. He's always a fierce coach and a very, very blunt, like will tell you as it is always kind of person. But what he always was he was the first person to tell you when it wasn't good enough, and basically just tell you like, we need you to show up and you're not showing up. Pull it together because we're here to win. And then also he was always the first person to celebrate you when you did. He was the first person to grab you, the first person to celebrate what you did, the first person to positively say like, that's what I want to see. And I always think of myself as like a player and as a leader and as a teammate, is I always want to be that, because I would want someone to do that to me. I would always want someone to do the same. The person to say like, hey, we need you to show up, because when you show up, we win. And then when you do, I want them to be your biggest hype person, because I would do that for someone else. But yeah. So, but yes, we can talk about Ireland too, because I love to talk about Ireland.
Go for it. I mean,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
know that you play with Denise O'Sullivan. She was the captain at North Carolina when I was there. Kate McCabe's there, or I don't know if I'm saying it right, but yeah, you went to a freaking World Cup, dude. Like,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's so weird to think, like say out loud. Yeah, it's weird to just like drop that. You're like, yeah, I was like in a World Cup, and you just think like, holy crap, I was in a World Cup. Yeah, so I am Irish American. I established my Irish citizenship through my my mom's side. My grandy, my papa, they immigrated from Ireland in the 1950s. And I always laugh about their story, because it was kind of like they didn't have like their all big Irish family all living in Ireland. And like when they were coming over to America, they were like, oh, we're only going to do it for like a year. We're going to like just like live the American dream and just work for a little bit, and then we'll be back. And so everyone's like, okay, like weird, but fine. And then they ended up buying a house in San Francisco and staying and having my mom's first generation American and all that stuff. So yeah, so I established it through my grandparents. And Ireland has always been so dear and very important to my family and to my life. But again, it was growing up, it was always from this perspective of like, oh, it was somewhere I traveled to, and my cousins would come and visit, and and like you're like, oh, your last name's Carusa, but like really you got those Irish freckles, and you're like, like it was always like this, like, but also on top of that, like growing up, it was always when we had very Irish traditions when it came to like holiday dinners and the things we ate. And I remember coming to class and sharing about like at Thanksgiving, like things that we would do, traditions that we do at my family. And I'd be like, oh, like we pop these poppers and we eat plum pudding. And my classmates would literally look at me like I was crazy. And they were like, sorry, but you just made that up. And as a kid, I just didn't really understand. I thought like this was normal, or like, yeah, like that was just like what people did. But yeah, it always was something very special about like our family and very important to us. But playing with Ireland has it's been like the greatest gift. Again, when I think about timing of things, and things happen for a reason, and I think about me being able to come in and play with the Irish team. It came right off the back end of me playing in France. And again, it was so pivotal for me to go and play with a program that of with women who I didn't know personally at all. I mean, I've watched these women play. I knew of them. I never had met them in my life. In a new place, in just completely new environment. And I was always met with such love and embrace and welcome and curiosity and friendship. I mean, I mean, like sitting here right now, I'm smiling because I get to be with them in a week, in less than a week. I'm back in Ireland, and I am so thankful. I mean, you mentioned Denise O'Sullivan, who is not only one of the best players. One of the best players I've ever gotten to like play with. I mean, as you know, Emily, but also was one of those humans that just accepted me and embraced me into this environment so quickly when I had just was so vulnerable and came off of literally an environment where I felt so rejected from, or just so completely the opposite from. And yeah, and I think over the course of these 5 years, I've really found my footing with this team, and I've really found my voice and my just my niche with everybody. And that comes from a mutual respect and kind of just a mutual friendship between us both, of respecting like what I bring to the table, what they bring to the table. And that's like amongst everybody. I think that it's again, I think that's all a testament to the women that are on the Irish team, because that's always been the culture. But yeah, so I'd say that in the beginning it was COVID as well, so it was uncomfortable, and it was hard to really get to know people when you always had to be separated, and you weren't really like it was just weirder, different times. But over the course of my time with Ireland, I have I mean, I've had friendships with these women that are forever, and are some of my most like cherished people in my life are my teammates from Ireland. And that's talking about people who are much like who are older than myself, and who have are veterans with the team and veterans in European soccer or football. And then I'm also talking about the young players who literally, I remember their first camps with us when they came in and they had braces, and they were like, hi, like I've just, and you're just thinking, and these girls had never like left Ireland, like they never played outside of Ireland. And like now, like, and again, like just as much as those women are my very great good friends, as of are the veterans, or as are the women who are older than me, as are the women who are my age. Like it just, there's something very special and like unique about a group that feeling is felt amongst everybody. That of course there's like a respect and an admiration for those who've been in the squad longer, and captains and leaders and all that stuff, but there's this mutual welcoming and respect across the board, that having played as much international football as I have now is so imperative to the success of a team, because you're only in together for such a minimal amount of time. You need to show up and just be a team. Like you need to show up and give a performance. And like you all come from different clubs, and you're probably playing different positions at your clubs, and you're expecting different roles. And then suddenly you're together and you're like, so we're playing Germany, and we need to be good. So come on, like, and it's, again, like I've always been met with such love and embrace and welcome when it came to Ireland. And it it's so near and dear to my heart. And Ireland has always been special to me, but I do feel very privileged to say that Ireland is like so a part of me now in such a different way. And I'm always incredible. The most thing I'm thankful for is my connection with my grandy, my papa. So my papa passed a few years, or quite a bit ago, but my grandy is still with us in San Francisco. And every time I play with Ireland, we always chat, and I always message her, and I always just say, like, I do this for you, I do this for Papa, I do this for our family, and just know that I'm always thinking of us. And if I score a goal, I always say, thank you, Papa. Thank you, Tony, is my Papa's name. I'm always thinking like that's someone, who I always think is looking over me when I'm playing for Ireland. Yeah. And then I get to have my family show up to these games. It's like playing a home game, except I'm in Dublin. It's just my nieces and nephews and my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, like everyone there is there to like see me like, represent them. And it makes me so proud. And I've never felt such pride in the way that I do when I represent Ireland. Yeah, and again I look back and I laugh because like younger me was considering not playing anymore, which is just crazy. And I think that again, things happen for a reason. What's meant to be is meant to be. And everything, like my whole story and everything that I've done and I've been a part of was meant to be the way it was. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's with international football, that's the first thing that comes to mind is pride and just like a bigger picture. Like you're representing more than just yourself, your family, your country, and so many things. And I think every time you line up, I think the national anthem is something really special and honestly indescribable. But with that, we're going to wrap it up with a few quick fire questions. Some of them football related, some of them are not. And I really think this first one, you're going to have a hard time. So,
Okay.
number one, give up homemade fresh spring rolls or the beach.
Oh my God. That's so mean. Okay, you know what? I'm sticking with it. This is my gut. I'm giving up the beach. I don't need to live near a beach. I'm more of a lake. I'm a lake girl. I'm a lake girly. So, but you cannot convince me to give up spring rolls. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna make them this week before I leave for Ireland.
We'll make 'em.
Jeez. Yeah.
You want to ask number two?
Dogs or cats?
Oh, dogs. For sure. For sure.
Do you have
Yeah.
a dog?
My mom does. We have a family dog. So, yeah, and he's a beagle and he's like Benjamin Button. He's literally aged in reverse. I think he turned 16 this year and I swear to God that man has more he's younger than me. Like it's insane. But yeah, always been a dog person. I do like cats. A lot of my teammates are like, "Hey, like you could be a cat girl." And I'm just like, maybe, but probably not. Yeah, but I like low key. I'm like trying to convince my sister we get a dog. So as the person as the life we live where we're hardly ever here and we always travel and yeah. But of course I'm the one who wants the dog. So yeah,
It is. Score a last minute winner or a hat trick?
I'm going last minute winner always. Because I mean the celebration on a last minute winner, oh my Lord, it's too good. You
Well, you
can't
could
beat
score
that
a hat trick
feeling.
and not win.
I know, and it's so fair. Also, like I don't know, I think about like times in which I've scored the hat tricks or multiple goals in games, and they don't resonate with you the way that a last minute winner does. Like those are special. And also, I think a special thing about a last minute winner is that it's like a shared amongst a team because it's like this massive like crazy moment where you're all like, holy crap! We literally just did it, and like yeah. So last minute winner. Agreed.
If you were not a footballer, what would you be?
Good question. I think this is the Stanford in me, but I would definitely work for myself. So I would start my own company. Or if I wasn't working for myself or doing like starting my own company, I would probably work in the women's football world. I would really want to be I would want to work on like the business side of things. And I think that there needs to be more women who've kind of been in our shoes in the room who are really passionate about making sure like this game keeps progressing and that it gets better. So yeah.
Shout out Axel Sports Nutrition.
Yes, which I actually have started my own business.
Number five, the absolute highlight of your career. After everything we've talked about, you gotta pick one.
Okay. The absolute highlight of my career. And I have to pick one. I think I think the biggest or like the greatest the one that stands out to me the most is playing in a World Cup, just because that's just something that not everyone can do or everyone gets to do. It's such an honor. But when I think about the most like special moments, and like I would like love to go back and like get to do that again, was my first year in Kerr, and we played in our final game of the season. We played Brøndby, and it was us or them for the title, and we played them at home and we won that game. Yeah, like that's a moment I would love to go back and like live in again, because that was that was just it was like such a perfect storm of, again, like everything happened for a reason, everything happened the way it should have happened, the right people were in the right place at the right time, and I it gives me chills thinking that like I was a part of it and I got to be there for it. And yeah, and I think it also was a catalyst to start, or a catalyst for just like the culture and everything that was that like came to be in occur in Denmark. It also changed me a lot as a person and stuff like that. And I don't know, a year before that, literally a year before that, I was like, I'm not playing anymore. So, and then to be in that position to have qualified for Champions League and to like win and to have your entire city cheering for you. Yeah, it's very, very special. Good people, special moment. But yeah.
Little Kerr beat out the World Cup. Crazy.
I know, little Kerr. I know. But yeah, God, shout out to our, gosh, also we had a coach there, and we chatted about him, Henrik Liam. He was like this little short Danish man. He had like a gray, like bob haircut. It was hilarious. But yeah, he was also one of the most impactful coaches like I ever had ever in my career. And he was there and got like, and like was a part of it all as well. And I just, again, just like little people you think about that you're just like, I would love to sit in a room with those people again and just chat to them. But special.
Okay, last one. If there was one thing that you had to tell your younger self, what would it be?
Keep it one sentence.
Okay, one sentence. Okay. I would say to myself that I probably would just say, like, what's meant to be will be. Law of detachment. Done. Okay, done. What's meant to be will be. Just be present.
Nice.
What's meant to be will be. Believe in that. So, yeah. Be detached in it all. Yeah. So, I'm done. Period.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kyra, and sharing your
Of course.
story. I think you gave a lot of perspective from many different angles.
Nice. Good.
I hope you enjoyed talking about your career and maybe giving yourself a little perspective and flashback of everything you've been through.
Yeah, no, you guys, thank you so much. And I think it's so cool what you guys are doing and giving a platform for players to chat about this. And because I know that like I myself would want to put my headphones in or like jump on and listen and hear about women speaking about their careers and relating to them in so many different ways. But yeah, you guys are using your platform for good. So I love that. So thank you for having me on. It's been an honor.
Yeah, your story is incredible, and we're really appreciative of you being our very first guest. I don't think we could have picked a better one. Hope you have a great season ahead of you with San Diego and with Ireland, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Okay, to close it out, we're going to do our quote of the week in honor of the Philadelphia Eagles. Go Birds. In honor of their Super Bowl win this past Sunday, the quote and mantra of the team this season from head coach Nick Sirianni has been, you can't be great without the greatness of others. And I think in any team sport, this, and whether it's a team sport or not, you know, Kyra, our guest, kind of alluded to having a support system and people that you can rely on. Like, you can't be great as an individual without those people in your life. So this can relate to so many different people, and no matter what you're going through right now or what phase of life you're in, you know, in regards to the Super Bowl, they're talking about a team and how an American football team cannot perform and win games without each and every guy doing everything right on each play. and in life, and in what Nicole and I are doing right now, playing abroad and living on our own. Like, we can't do that without like our teammates, for one, the greatness of our teammates putting in the same work, and the support staff for our clubs, and our friends from back home, from around the world, our family. Like, we can't do any of that without, you know, the greatness. Yes, that's a big word, but like just what those people give. So I think that quote is awesome, and yeah, I love it. So
Yeah, and honestly, I'll just go off of that. Like, just we obviously talked a lot with Kyra today, but just like that circle that you have around you is so important, and you just always have to remember, like, you generally can't succeed without the people around you, without your teammates, and without the people you maybe don't even see, so the ones behind the scenes doing everything. So it's always good just to remember that, and you want to do things that makes the people around you great as well, because that will only make you better. So I really do like that quote, Em. So thanks for that one. And thank you guys for tuning in to our second ever episode of Her Side of the Pitch. And today we had our first guest speaker, Kyra Carusa. She shared a lot of her story, a lot of the ups and highs and lows she had throughout her career. I think there's a lot to learn from her. I know I personally really look up to her as an individual, as a player, on and off the pitch. I truly believe she's a great leader and a great role model. And with that, stay tuned for more content on our Instagram, our YouTube channel, and just remember to subscribe, watch, and listen to each of our episodes. You can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube as well. Thank you very much. Have a great week.